Hey guys, welcome back to Benham Brewing's channel. For those of you that haven't been here before, we do product reviews, tutorials, and we have a live chat feature on our website to help you through your Brew 911s. Today's video is number 4 in our series about all grain brewing. We go into some very good detail on the mash and extraction from the mash. So if you haven't checked out our first video, definitely do that, and then come back to this one and check out some details on how to get the most out of your mash. Let's check it out. So you finish your 1 hour mash using the batch sparred method. What are the next steps? Well, you got to rinse and remove all those sugars from the grain. So first things you do is you take a quantity of water, which we talked about how to calculate that prior, and you're going to heat that up to about 165 to 175. Now this is higher than the mash temperature you were shooting for. The reason we heat the water higher is because it helps the sugar that's in the grains be rinsed away more easily. It becomes more soluble and it becomes less viscous, less syrupy, less sticky, so that you're really extracting as many of those sugars out of the grain as you possibly can. Now, word of caution, don't go above 175. If you get into the higher range, especially above 175, there is risk of that hot water extracting tannins from the husks from the grain. Think of it like a black tea bag. If you were to put that in your mouth, that astringent kind of tannic quality, you don't want that in your beer. Don't go above 175. So you take your quantity of water, you're gonna heat that up. Don't add it to the grain yet. Put that aside. First thing we need to do is drain off the existing mash liquid that's in there. So what you do is we're gonna do a technique called Vorloff. We're going to set the grain bed. So you take your mash tun and you open the valve very slowly, and you have that pitcher we mentioned earlier under there, and you slowly drain off some of that wort. Once you get about maybe half a pitcher, the quantity doesn't really matter, just get a good volume in there, you're gonna shut off that valve and then gently pour it back into the top of the mash, being careful not to dump it because you don't want to disrupt the grain bed. What you're doing right now is you're having that liquid settle, you're taking some off, and you're putting it back. You're basically recirculating it. So you do that 3 and 4 times. You know you're done when the runnings that are coming out are clear. They don't have bits of husk and grain in them, and it is relatively clear. It's not gonna be perfectly clear, but a little bit of cloudy is okay. You have now set the grain bed, and you can now take those runnings, your first runnings, and run them off into your boil kettle. So you drain that off into the kettle, and you should take about 45 minutes or so. If you go too fast, here's a word of caution, you can get what's called a stuck mash. What that means is you drain that liquid out so fast that it actually suctions and compacts the grain bed, and you end up with a solid mass that no liquid can get through. If that happens, don't worry, it's not the end of the world. You do kind of have to start over though. So you get your stuck mash, you're gonna take your mash paddle, your spoon, whatever, stir all of that back up again, let it sit for a couple of minutes, repeat the Vorloff step. Go ahead and reset the grain bed, and this time when you're getting your first runnings out into the kettle, do it slower. There is a trade-off between speed and efficiency. The faster you do the runnings and get that liquid out of your mash tun, the less efficient you are at extracting the sugars. So the slower you go, the better, to a point. Now you don't want to have like a 3-hour mash out where it takes you that long to get everything out, because the trade-off of time versus how much efficiency you're gaining, it is not worth it. Depending on your system, 45 minutes to an hour to get the runnings out is kind of a good trade-off. It all depends on your system. If you're using a false bottom, a manifold, the shape of your device, how big is your volume, all of that stuff. So get your stuff dialed in to figure out how long is an appropriate mash for your system. Once you've gotten all the liquid out of your mash tun, it's time to take that water that you had heated a couple of steps before or in the previous step to the 165 to 175. You're now going to take that volume and you're going to put it right on top of that grain. You're going to stir it and mix it around, make sure it's all nice and hydrated, and then let it sit for about 15 minutes. That lets all the temperature kind of stabilize. It lets those sugars get an opportunity to dissolve. It gives the mash a chance to have those enzymes denatured and kind of shut them off so they stop doing their work. Once that's done, now you're gonna do your second runnings. You're gonna repeat the same process. Pour a little bit off of the mash tun, pour it back in the top slowly, and do that to set the grain bed. Once your grain bed is set and your runnings are clear, you will then let the duration or the rest of your mash drain into your boil kettle. Hey guys, thank you so much for watching our video on extracting out of your mash for an all-grain batch of beer. We really hope that it brought you value. As a reminder, this was video number 4 in our series of all grain brewing. If you haven't seen our first video, please check that out. It's linked below, along with our other videos where we go into more detail on the mashing steps. Video 1 is a great way to get into mashing or all grain brewing if you've never done it before. Please check that out. Please make sure you hit that like and subscribe button to let us know this video did bring you value. It does mean a lot when you guys do that, so we can continue to bring you this wonderful content. Catch you later, my friends.